Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and check out the description to eliminate bad behavior and create the obedient, well-behaved pet of your dreams. Despite the fact that they're destined to be a partner, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel canine variety holds the lively idea of their Spaniel predecessors. On the off chance that they're not sitting on a lap or getting a gut rub, nothing makes them more joyful than to flush a feathered creature and afterward endeavor to recover it. Despite the fact that these are thoroughbred canines, you may in any case discover them in sanctuaries and salvages. Make sure to embrace. Try not to shop on the off chance that you need to bring a canine home. One of the biggest of the toy breeds, Cavaliers are regularly as athletic as a genuine brandishing rays and appreciate hiking, running on the seashore, and canine games, for example, deafness, flyball and rally. Some have even indicated their ability as chasing canines. The more soothing individuals from the variety discover accomplishment as family companions and treatment canines. See underneath for complete rundown of Cavalier King Charles Spaniel attributes. The Cavalier King Charles Spaniel is a wonderful little canine that without a doubt is a competitor for the title of top dog. Truth be told, among the attributes that Cavalier raisers endeavor to achieve is a tail in consistent movement when this variety is moving. In the event that the trademark swaying of the Cavalier's plumy tail doesn't make your day, unquestionably his huge, dull round eyes will. Warm and radiant, with a sweet articulation, they hold the ability to extricate steady petting and limitless supplies of food from individuals powerless to resist them. Of course, this variety can undoubtedly get fat, which ruins its stunning lines, so be solid and offer a walk or recess rather than the potato chips and pizza your Cavalier is plotting for. Cavaliers cushion through the house on slippered paws, continuing in the strides of their kin. With a Cavalier in habitation, you'll never be separated from everyone else, not even in the washroom. Since they're so connected to their kin, they do best when somebody is at home during the day to stay with them. They are a house dog and will never flourish in a climate where they're consigned to the patio or in any case disregarded. With regards to preparing, Cavaliers are commonly savvy and ready to attempt whatever it is you'd like them to do. Food prizes and encouraging feedback help guarantee that preparation goes easily. Cavaliers have a delicate character, so shouting at them is counterproductive and prone to send these darlings into the pouts or into covering up. All things being equal, reward them each time you see them accomplishing something you like, regardless of whether it's biting on a toy rather than your Prada siphons or not barking accordingly when the canine nearby barks. They'll try way too hard to track down more things that you like. Similarly, as with many toy breeds, Cavaliers can have issues with house training, yet on the off chance that you keep them on a steady timetable, with a lot of occasions to potty outside, they can get dependable in the home. Cavaliers have a needy character. They love to be with individuals and shouldn't be disregarded for significant stretches of time. Your Cavalier will shed, particularly in the spring and fall. Ordinary brushing constantly is required. Since he's a spaniel on a fundamental level, he may attempt to pursue winged creatures, bunnies and other little prey on the off chance that he isn't kept on chain or in a fenced yard. Cavaliers may bark when somebody goes to your entryway, but since of their benevolent nature, they aren't acceptable watchman canines. Cavaliers are house dogs and ought not live outside. To get a solid canine, never purchase a doggy from a reckless raiser, pup factory, or pet store. Search for a trustworthy reproducer who tests her rearing canines to ensure they're liberated from hereditary sicknesses, that they may go to the pups, and that they have sound demeanors. History. While the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel is a generally new variety, reproduced not exactly a century back, his model is the toy spaniel that has existed for quite a long time as an ally to eminence and honorability. Cavaliers are dropped from a similar toy spaniels portrayed in numerous 16th, 17th, and 18th century works of art by popular specialists, for example, Van Dyck and Gainsborough. The spaniels in those compositions had level heads, high-set ears, and longish noses. These little spaniels were incredible top choices of regal and honorable families in England. Mary, Queen of Scots, had a toy spaniel who went with her as she strolled to her decapitation, and her grandson, Charles I, an incredible grandson, Charles II, who gave their name to the variety, cherished the little canines too. It's said that King Charles II, who ruled from 1660 to 1685, never went anyplace without at any rate a few of these little spaniels. He even declared that the spaniels should be permitted in any open spot, including the Houses of Parliament. It's guaranteed that the pronouncement is still as a result today in England, albeit nobody has tried it as of late to check whether it's actual. After Charles II's demise, the King Charles Spaniel's notoriety wound down, and pugs and other short-confronted breeds turned into the new regal top picks. The King Charles Spaniels were reared with these canines and at last created huge numbers of their highlights, for example, the more limited nose and the domed head. There was one fortification of the King Charles Spaniels that were of the sort that King Charles himself had so cherished, and that was at Blenheim Palace, the nation home of the Dukes of Marlborough. Here, a strain of red and white toy spaniels kept on being reproduced, which is the reason Cavalier King Charles Spaniels with this shading are called Blenheim today. Since there was no norm for the variety and no canine shows yet, the sort and size of the toy spaniels reproduced by the Dukes of Marlborough differed. During the 19th century, notwithstanding, English reproducers began holding canine shows and attempting to refine diverse canine varieties. At that point, the toy spaniel was acknowledged as having a level face, undershot jaw, domed skull and enormous, round, forward-looking eyes. The King Charles Spaniels portrayed in artistic creations from prior hundreds of years were practically terminated. During the 1920s, an American named Roswell Eldridge began looking in England for toy spaniels that took after those in the old works of art. He looked for over 5 years, in any event, taking his inquiry to the Crufts Dog Show, where he convinced the Kennel Club, England's comparable to the American Kennel Club, to permit him to offer £25 authentic, a colossal haul at that point, for the best canine and best bitch of the sort found in King Charles II's rule. He offered this prize for a very long time. In 1928, Miss Mostyn Walker introduced a canine named Anne's Son for assessment and was granted the £25 prize. Roswell Eldridge didn't live to see the prize asserted, as he had kicked the bucket only 1 month before Crufts. Interest in the variety resuscitated, and a variety club was framed. The name Cavalier King Charles Spaniel was picked to separate the variety from the level-confronted King Charles Spaniel, known as the English Toy Spaniel in the United States. The club held its first gathering on the second day of Crufts in 1928 and drew up a variety standard, a composed depiction of how the variety should look. Anne's Son was introduced to act as an illustration of the variety, and club individuals got together the entirety of the duplicates of photos of the old artistic creations that had little canines of this sort in them. One thing that all club individuals settled upon from the beginning was that the Cavalier King Charles Spaniels would be kept as normal as could reasonably be expected, and managing and molding of the canine for the show ring would be debilitate. The Kennel Club was hesitant to perceive the new variety, yet at last, in 1945, following quite a while of work by the reproducers, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel was perceived as a different variety. During the 1940s, 2 male Cavaliers were brought into the U.S. from England, Robrol of Baron and Bertie of Rookery Nook. It wasn't until 1952, in any case, that Cavaliers had their actual beginnings in the U.S. In that year, Mrs. Sally Lyons Brown of Kentucky was given a dark and tan bitch doggy named Psyche of Iworth by her English companion, Lady Mary Forwood. She went gaga for the variety and imported more. At the point when she found that she was unable to enlist her canines with the American Kennel Club, she began reaching individuals in the U.S. that had Cavaliers. Around then, there were less than 12. In 1954, she established the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Club, USA, CKCSC, USA, the official variety club and just enlisting body for Cavaliers in the United States for over 50 years. During these years, the individuals from the CKCSC, USA ruled against pushing for full acknowledgement of the variety, feeling that the club's exacting code of morals kept the variety from being economically reared. They expected that an excessive amount of acknowledgement of the variety would prompt it getting excessively mainstream and in this manner excessively alluring for raisers who wouldn't keep up the guidelines they had set up. Generally, they kept the AKC miscellaneous status so individuals who needed to show their canines in acquiescence could do as such. In 1992, the AKC welcomed the CKCSC, USA to turn into the parent club for the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. The enrollment said no. A little gathering of CKCSC, USA individuals shaped the American Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Club, ACKCSC, and applied to the AKC for parent club status. This was in truth, and the AKC formally perceived the variety was in March 1995. The CKCSC, USA is as yet a free variety library, however the ACKCSC is the parent club for the variety inside the AKC. Size. This little however tough canine stands 12 to 13 crawls at the shoulder and gauges 13 to 18 pounds. There is nothing of the sort as a toy Cavalier, and you would do well to try not to purchase a Cavalier from a raiser who offers canines a large portion of that size. Character. The gregarious Cavalier takes as his good example comedian Will Rogers, who broadly said he never met an outsider. The Cavalier is anxious to meet each and every individual who crosses his way, and if that individual plunks down and offers a lap, or a treat, that would be preferable. Like any canine, Cavaliers arrive in a scope of characters, from calm and steady to raucous and rowdy. They may or probably won't bark when somebody goes to the entryway, so they're a helpless decision as a guard dog, aside from, that is, for viewing the robber haul away the silver. There are special cases. Obviously, a few Cavaliers will advise you regarding each occasion in your area and bark savagely when outsiders approach, yet generally you're in an ideal situation purchasing a caution framework than relying on your Cavalier to make you aware of difficulty. Well-being. Cavaliers are commonly solid, however like all varieties, they're inclined to certain medical issue. Not all Cavaliers will get any or these illnesses, however it's imperative to know about them in case you're thinking about this variety. In case you're purchasing a doggy, locate a decent raiser who will show you well-being clearances for both your pup's folks. Well-being clearances demonstrate that a canine has been tried for and freed from a specific condition. In Cavaliers, you ought to hope to see well-being clearances from the Orthopedic Foundation for Animals, OFA, for hip dysplasia, with a score of reasonable or better, elbow dysplasia, hypothyroidism, and von Willebrand's illness, from Auburn University for thrombopathia, and from the Canine Eye Registry Foundation, CERF, ensuring that eyes are typical. You can affirm well-being clearances by checking the OFA site, offa.org. Mitral valve disease, MVD. This is a typical condition in Cavaliers. It begins with a heart mumble that gets expanding more regrettable until the canine has cardiovascular breakdown. Coronary illness in more established canines of any variety is genuinely normal, yet Cavaliers are inclined to creating MVD at an early age, now and again as youthful as a couple of years old. Investigation into avoidance of this condition is progressing. Since it seems to have a hereditary segment, dependable raisers have their reproducing canines assessed routinely by veterinary cardiologists to attempt to keep this condition from proceeding to people in the future. Syringomyelia, SM. This condition influences the mind and spine and has all the earmarks of being normal in Cavaliers. Indications range from gentle distress to serious agony and fractional loss of motion. It's brought about by a mutation of the skull, which diminishes the space for the mind. Indications ordinarily show up between the ages of a half year and 4 years. The main signs you may see are affectability around the head, neck, or shoulders, with the canine in some cases whining, or as often as possible scratching at the zone of his neck or shoulder, generally on one side of the body, without really making actual contact with the body, air scratching. They may attempt to scratch in any event, when walking. Consequently, if your Cavalier is scratching, it's essential to take him to the vet to preclude SM. For more data, visit Syringomyelia. Verbose falling. This condition frequently is mistaken for epilepsy. However, the canine remaining parts cognizant during the falling or seizure. It's achieved in light of the fact that the canine can't loosen up its muscles. Side effects can go from gentle, intermittent falling scenes to seizure-like scenes that keep going for quite a long time. Indications typically start before 5 months yet might be seen just sometime down the road. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think.